So very warm good evening to all. Respected Director of Sri Vidyaniketan Institute of Management, Professor P. Narayan Reddy Garu. Today's guest speakers, Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar, Mrs. Nirmala Metwal, and Dr. Hiranmayi Mishra ma'ams, fellow faculty members, and my dear students, a very warm welcome to you all. Today we all have gathered here to celebrate International Women's Day. International Women's Day is celebrated on March 8th worldwide, commemorating the political, social, and economic achievements of women. Over the decades, the objective of Women's Day has evolved and embraced culture and ethnicity to emerge as a celebration of appreciation, respect, and love towards women. Over the years, the essence of Women's Day celebration has evolved and has taken up altogether a novel form. Now I welcome you all to the panel discussion on the women in women's world, ideas, experiences, and learnings. Now I request our director, Professor P. Narayan Reddy Garu, to give his opening remarks. Please, sir.
Very good evening, all. Thank you, Dr. Sridevi. I, on behalf of Sri Vidyaniketan Institute of Management, formally welcome all of you to this very interesting webinar on women in women's world. At the outset, I wish a very, very happy Women's Day on the occasion of International Women's Day. Across the world today, everywhere, thousands and lakhs of events are happening. And even in my own institution, almost 3 to 4 events happened wherein very senior members have joined and greeted the women for their growth and development and significant contribution to the world development. This particular session, I thought of having a separate event like this in addition to what we have organized in the campus. Then, while having an informal chat with my friends, particularly Professor Tapan Panda, the director, the Narsimhan Institute of Management and Research from Hyderabad, we had a brief discussion and we titled it the today's panel discussion on women in women's world, ideas, experiences, and learnings / leanings. When we put the word leanings, but it gives a different interpretation, and also felt that instead of that, it may be better to have learnings. So we thought of organizing a program on this, and who should be the panelists? That is the second important issue for the discussion. Very interestingly, Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar, the very, very popular speaker and strong in media and editing a journal. Of course, my colleagues will introduce her with more details. And her name has cropped up for the discussion. And then Dr. Hiranmayi Mishra, the senior academician, writer, and poet, and also specialist in gender studies. And third one, we wanted to have a specific representative from the business world. Therefore, Nirmala Metwal name was identified. And once we identified these speakers, I was having a little bit of doubt and a little bit skeptical about they may be very, very busy, and accepting our invitation also was a little bit a doubt. But once I referred the name of Professor Tapan Panda and invited them, they immediately accepted to be the panelist in this particular session. On behalf of my institution, I welcome Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar, the Nirmala Metwal, and Professor Dr. Hiranmayi Mishra. I also recognize among the senior participants here, Professor Tapan Pandaji. I welcome all of you to this program. And also there are a good number of management professors too joined in this particular webinar. Friends, I would like to say two things here and set the tone for a panel discussion. Due to various reasons, maybe historically, there was a division of work between men and women. There was no much difference between the work at home and work outside the home. As we moved and started adopting the Western approach of development concepts, we started looking at the work with superiority and inferiority. Over a period of time, the work at home is treated as a little bit inferior, though there is no difference between the work at home and outside the home work. But for a period of time, the woman working at home was a little bit looked down by the society. As we moved from our traditional system to modern society, from modern society to postmodern society and its developmental process, we started looking at the development of women with the different classes, particularly from social, political, and cultural systems dimension. All these number of dimensions have been changed because of known and unknown reasons. We started comparing the men with the women and started quantifying the contributions made by the both genders. That's why nowadays, many times, many speakers do say that the number of women is less in so-and-so sector, or their percentage is very minimal, like this. Though I am the one who doesn't like to compare the woman contribution with the men, because there is no statistical model or mathematical formula to measure the contribution of women in this particular world. Impossible. There is no method to value the contribution. That is the greatness of women. However, over a period of time, people started coining the different words in different timings, and one such is the women empowerment. In India, women are empowered, I personally feel. However, the discussion goes a number of dimensions. There is certainly in some parts and significant part of these countries. So therefore, there is a need to discuss what is woman and woman in her own world. What are the ideas of a woman about herself and in that particular environment? Similarly, what are the experiences that we have been observing and gaining, and based on these experiences and what we gained in the form of developing the knowledge, how the policy framework, let it be formally from the government side and informally from the society side, what type of systems we can bring into the play so that the woman can lead and live with dignity. So therefore, I propose to have a discussion on this particular thing. I welcome all the three eminent panel speakers on this particular topic, along with to this particular webinar. To the speakers to speak on two round forms. First one, I would like to suggest, what is the idea of woman and her world? Is there a need to identify women separately in the society? That is the first common observation which I want to say. Before I invite Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar, I request Sridevi Madam, please introduce her to our participants.
Okay, sir.
Mute, Jane. Unmute.
Thank you, sir. It's my immense pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar, Editor at Large, Fortune India, Mumbai. She is full-time business journalist who is passionate about creating awareness about autism. She is a business journalist. Her areas of specialization are FMCG, media, retail, and human resources. She has been writing a fair bit on rural consumption of late, which has taken her to rural markets in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Madhya Pradesh. She would like to explore more of rural India and tell interesting stories. She is actively involved in organizing and conducting panel discussions on human resources topics. She is passionate about handlooms and handcrafts. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Mrs.
Sridevi. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please.
So thank you for having me over. My observation on women and Women's Day is, I think it's high time we break stereotypes. And I actually don't think that, I don't really feel the need to have a day like International Women's Day every year. I think we should celebrate womanhood every day. So that is my feeling. And also, when it comes to looking down upon women or not having enough women in the workforce, I think that is changing, that is improving by the day. But what I would like to point out is there are a lot of unconscious biases, and which happens on the part of, which comes to a certain degree, it happens on the part of the employers, and to a certain degree, it's the woman who is responsible herself. So, we consider ourselves as caregivers, and we take the onus on ourselves, to to sacrifice our career, to kind of take a back seat in our career. So the onus is equally on us, and we have to stop feeling guilty about it. We have to start considering ourselves equal to, as equals, and that's how we move forward. So as we progress in the discussion, I would like to talk about the unconscious bias.
Thank you very much, Ajita. Now may I request Dr. Hiranmayi Mishra, and I request Sridevi, please introduce Dr. Hiranmayi.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to introduce our next guest speaker, Dr. Hiranmayi Mishra, creative writer, associate professor, and gender specialist. She is a story writer, novelist, and columnist, and a poet. Her educational qualifications are MA, MPhil, and PhD. She completed her PhD in Women's Studies, University of York, England, United Kingdom. She is presently working as associate professor in political science, UN Autonomous College, Cuttack, Odisha. She is director, Center for Women's Studies. She has written an essay entitled Negotiating Privately for an Effective Role in Public Space, a case study on women in Panchayats of Orissa. She was awarded the Kanhai Katha Purashkar honor for her contribution to Odia fiction. She co-authored a book, Ethics and Values for UG students across the stream for Department of Higher Education, Government of Odisha, 2022. She awarded Best Alumni Award 2009 by International Institute of Education, New York, USA. She has been awarded with the Bhuvaneshwar Pustak Mela Fiction Award, Katha Naba Pratibha Award, Bharatiya Bhasha Prasiddha Youth Award, Kadambini Best Fiction Award, Bhuvaneshwar Behra State Fiction Award, Time Pass Book Award, and more. We are very glad to welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. A very long introduction indeed, but thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Tapan, and thank you, Professor Narayana Reddy, for inviting us. Thank you, Sridevi. And as I came to know that Ajita is also interested in working in rural women, and I have been working, fortunately or unfortunately, I have been teaching in a rural institution actually, in a very big college, but that's located in a rural location in Odisha. And that's for last 30 years, apart from the phase when I went for my research. Otherwise, there is a strict divide still, in the urban and rural divide. And while we are here, the things here in this, I mean, if we are considering about ourselves, then it's everything seems very okay, and everything seems that as if we shouldn't celebrate this womanhood, or we shouldn't celebrate. There's no need of celebrating International Women's Day for a day in the calendar. But looking, if you look at the women who are there in the rural area, then for them it's like creating a consciousness also. Since I college, so whole day today I was engaged in organizing different functions in my college. So it's like people are being aware that what is there going on. So I never think that there is something called women's world, because this is the same world that we have to operate, we have to perform, and we have to live in. So the rural women who do not for them, and how the things are being done, or how policies have been changing over the years. For them, it's like a day of celebration. When we invite them, when we invite the grassroots representatives to our college or to our institutions, when we ask them to say about their experiences, it's like revealing, it's like a single woman's experience from from my maternal grandmother's journey to this day. It's like I sometimes I feel that really women of the whole world belong to one group actually, though we are not homogeneous, I know. But then the journey that talking about women empowerment, I don't believe something called empowerment, because at the same time it's a process and also an outcome. For me or for Ajita, for Nirmala, it may not be very empowering if we go for a tour of a world tour all alone. But for a woman who is there, whom I'm interacting every day with, whom I'm seeing in my that village, and then for her, even coming out of that village is an empowering step. So empowerment is it can't be a common room. Though the world, the women's world is same, but there are different chambers where we do operate, and we have to make it a single room, that we have to feel the other woman. Dr. Reddy, in the beginning of this this webinar, she was saying that whole day we are all busy. Yes, I said in that we are all busy because we want to send the message to all other women in this world that they have to come on this dais, so they have to listen, they have to know that how a woman's life has been changing, how our lives have been changing, and how we are trying, how we are pushing so hard. So this year's theme is breaking the bias. It's all finally, like Ajita said, I would also agree, are inside us. So we have to break these biases, and I would like, while the talk will be continuing, I would like to say, I would like to highlight on how rural women and rural girls in the educational institutions, how their lives have been changed through this kind of interactions, this kind of the institutionalization of the things. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Very interesting observation. Now, I request Dr. Sridevi to introduce the third panel speaker, Nirmala Metwani. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Next, I would like to introduce our next guest speaker, Mrs. Nirmala Metwal, Head Consumer Science, Chocolate AMIA Region, Modellands International. She is working in consumer sensory insights professional over 1 decade of experience in decoding consumer sensory insights for cross-category food and beverages products. She is expertise in leveraging consumer sensory tools across various functions like R&D, marketing, and quality in FMCG and flavor industry. She worked with Unilever, Coca-Cola, Givadvan, and Mondelez International in the regional roles and led the consumer science function. She is alumni of GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Uttarakhand, and Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore. Mrs. Nirmala Metwal is a subtitle winner of Mrs. India Congeniality India International Queen 2021 Beauty Pageant. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and I think it's my pleasure to be part of this forum because this really inspires me. And I was, as a part of like my passion, I was looking forward to have this kind of a session because I love to inspire people around me, and I believe in equality. So for me, this year, the title or the theme for women, women in International Women Day is really what is close to my heart, because I believe in breaking those biases. And whatever I do in my work, at home, since my childhood, I'm trying to break those biases, and I love and I enjoy doing that. And that's why I would love to send a message to all women there that let's do what is impossible. Nobody is going to stop you. It's you. Be fearless. Be, speak up, be fearless, and let's, be strong, and let's be empowered. Let's not be dependent on anyone to say us that they are going to empower us. Let's take our right, because this is our basic right to be empowered. So I'm looking forward for this session where I can contribute my experience coming from my background. I came from a village now where I am working in a different multinational companies. I have seen the journey, what the women are doing, what we are as organization, every organization is contributing for the women empowerment, and also about the gender equality, the pay parity. So that I've come across various scenarios in my life, and that where I can contribute today in this discussion. So looking forward for the great.
Thank you, Mrs. Nirmala. It's a wonderful observation that you have started your journey in a remote village, and now playing a big role in MNC company like a Cadbury is not a small thing. So all three of you have given a very, very interesting observation from 3 dimensions. Mrs. Ajita started with a very important point, that is unconscious bias at workplace. So, Ajita, please, can you say a few words on this, exactly how it is happening? What is your observation on this unconscious bias at workplace? See, as we all know that there is some amount of bias in some sectors, if not in all sectors. And over a period of time, I strongly feel that slowly this particular word bias is slowly fading out. And as the woman emerging strongly and making her presence felt in that segment. Ajita, please.
Thank you, Professor Reddy. So what I have noticed, I'm talking purely as a journalist now, because I write a lot on these diversity topics. And I had done a story on exactly the same thing, on unconscious biases. So as to what companies are doing to have more women in leadership roles. So what I realized was that there are enough women at the entry level. The women drop out of the workforce when typically in the middle management level. That is when they have their, family, they get married and have babies and things like that. And a lot of organizations are working very constructively to retain women, even at the middle management level. But when it comes to the senior management level, I realized that there is a lot of, the unconscious bias is at its peak, because there are certain roles which is just considered that a woman cannot do. It could be a sales function, it could be manufacturing. It's just assumed that a woman cannot do, and it's not fair on her. So I'll just cite and I'll give you some anecdotal and I'll cite some anecdotes. I was interviewing the head of Cisco, Daisy Chitlapalli, and she gave me a very interesting story. So she was saying one of her senior partners, a man, walked into her room one day and told her that there's this girl and she's really promising, and we have decided to promote her and send her to Chennai. So Daisy asked, like, are you really sure that she wants to go to Chennai? So he said, why not? She's the only child of her parents. Her parents live in Chennai, and she'll be more than happy to go to Chennai. So Daisy apparently insisted that go and ask the lady if she really wants to go and work there. So this gentleman goes and asks that lady, and she bluntly says, no, that's sorry, I don't want to go to Chennai. So what if my parents live there? My parents don't need me. They're well taken care of. I would rather take a more meteor role in some other place. So that's what the point she was trying to drive is, it was just taken for granted that this lady is from Chennai, so she would want to go to Chennai. And similarly, there's a lot of bias around, she's a lady, she cannot travel. It's not fair to send her for, if she takes up a sales role, it's not fair on her because she has to travel, she has a family. Nobody really bothers to ask the women colleague whether she really has a problem. And I hear of a lot of women telling me that there's so much unconscious bias that because of which their growth to the top gets restrained, and it's all stems from our cultural beliefs, the way we have been brought up. So and it is even there at the board level. If you ask senior board members who are women, they also give you a similar feedback.
Very, very, very interesting, Mrs. Ajita, because these types of case observations really give us a thought and how to go about from here. Because both the sides, one aspect is some amount of compromise for the sake of family and commitments, like shifting to the new places from the existing place where family is staying. One aspect. And similarly, the unconscious bias, as you mentioned, that the boss or the senior leaders may say that she can't perform this particular job, though she has an ability to perform on that particular.
She's completely capable of doing it. She wants to do it.
Yeah.
So
definitely, that's what we are seeing even in the American environment and Europe. Even the
yes,
good
it's
number
the same.
of,
I was very surprised that there are similar biases even globally in matured markets.
Yes.
So I was I was interviewing the global head of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki. This would have been 3-4 years ago, and I was surprised. She said the same thing, that there is bias, towards the women even in the Google board. So I said, how do you make your voice felt? She said, I just shout. So I was really surprised, to hear something from the CEO of YouTube.
Okay, now I would like to take a clue from this point, and now I request Dr. Hiranmaya Mishra, because she is an academician and a very good writer too. How far this unconscious bias is noticed in the literature part, particularly in the academic institutions, because she is heading, I think, the Women's Studies Center, and also she is the gender specialist. Dr. Hiranmaya Mishra, can you throw some light on this particular point?
Yes, I mean, unconscious bias is everywhere because we all are brought up in that same cultural background, and in that way, from that well, as Kamala Hassan has put it, we all have drank water from the same well, from the same well. And I'll just share some of my experiences of today. It's a very fresh memories. When today I was organizing a meeting as the head. I just asked a boy to offer bouquet to the guests, and he was like looking at my face, like, what are you saying? I would offer a bouquet. It's like as if he doesn't have any hands, and he can't do that. He is an educated fellow, and he's studying in the Women's Studies Center. Even then, he's looking at my face, and finally he said that, ma'am, please give this task to some girls. It's not my work. So it's like, and then consequently he only gave that because I make him. When women in the educational institutions, when they are on maternity leave, people think that people talk very lightly that, oh, she's on leave, so how can her course be completed? She was on leave, so as if she was enjoying her holidays. People forget that women are doing actually a national duty by procuring. So they don't believe that, and they don't think it inside. So even in my stories, I always want to include all these things. I also do another thing in my story. I don't want to just believe in the gender binary. I have many transgender characters, many gays, lesbians, all kinds of these sexual identities into my stories. I have blended, and I have done it purposefully because it was not there 10 years back in my literature. So I have been doing it because we should not believe in the gender binary and we should break it. That is also a bias. That's also an unconscious bias that we are only men and women all over this world. There are people who are neither men nor women, and we forget completely them, their orientations, and we don't respect them for that. So being in an educational institution, being a writer, I face this, I'm always interfacing, I'm always facing these unconscious biases in a rural institution. So these biases are much more than maybe my friends in the panel are facing. So these biases are, we have to, when we say that, now I heard that Nirmala said nobody is restricting. We're actually restricting women to cross this bias. We have never seen that world. If we will go into that world, then only we can know how women are being restricted, how the studies are discontinued for girls for the sake of their brothers. There are parents still today, date who are just saying that my son has to be an engineer, so I'll restrict my girl to class 8 or at least to class 2 studies. After class 2, I'll just stop her studies because I don't have enough money for that. So the people are there who are actually restricting and are actually don't allow women to cross that bias, the gender bias. So conscious biases are there. We still have to go a long way to cross the biases.
Thank you. This is a very interesting issue for discussion, actually. Now, my request, Mrs. Nirmala, please, after listen to this unconscious bias, both in the practical field, and there is some concentrated effort by both organizations and also the regulatory bodies to overcome this particular bias, and to what extent the effort is helping in progressing the woman from this biased environment. Can you throw some light on that?
Sure, I think, so I would like to share some of my experience in working with the multinational companies, right? So where the organization is really focusing a lot on diversity and inclusion. Yeah, so I think every organization, they are taking this as their KPIs, as their agenda, where they want to have senior leaders, women senior leaders in their leadership team. And they are putting a lot of effort. They are really helping and they are giving opportunity. As I told, empowerment is all about giving an opportunity or, making them capable of, leveraging their strengths. And because we need to give some opportunity to people, then they will be able to fulfill, what they want to. So all the organizations, and even if you see even the government and all are doing a lot to, to have this, to break this biases and also to have women in a high position, even if you say in politics, and also we are progressing on that part. But still, I think we really need to put a lot of effort, because what is happening, there are some gaps, right, which is really hampering wherever we are progressing, whether you call it about domestic violence, you call about safety related concerns, and you talk about there are a lot of other concerns which is really hampering our progress in this, whatever the organization and all are doing. And mainly, I think that the COVID, right? Yes, organization is helping, but at the same time, during the COVID also, women face a lot of issues, right? Because of they are not into the main sectors, and they have to do some of the unpaid care kind of a work at home, right? And because of that, lot of issues women went through. So even the government is having a lot of what you can say, they are providing the number, the WhatsApp calls, consultation, mental well-being. So I think even within the organization, these kind of programs got initiated so that people can balance their work life, their family, their work life, their personal life, at the same time keep contributing to the work.
Yeah, that is an interesting observation, because while at the workplace, actually, some effort is going on. Of course, all the particularly multinational corporations and big organizations, they are putting some extra effort to overcome this particular bias, though
Yes, yes.
bias
Just to add,
as
just to add, even I think big MNCs, they are also having the mentorship, so like women mentorship, because it's very important to have a role model, right? Because when we have a role model, it really helps us to grow and to see and to go and get some direction, because we as a woman sometimes struggle to balance our, I know, because we feel that it's our own, we own things, right? Because we have grown up in the culture or the society where we seen as, being the base of the house, right? Being the base of the home. So we sometimes struggle to take a very difficult decision. So whether we should focus on family, we should focus on the professional life. Like example, I move, then my husband will move with me. So there are a lot of which the unconscious bias when you're talking, I have gone through. Yes, I have grown up, but I took a very challenging decision at times. So a very simple example I'll give you. I was in one of the multinational. There are very educated people. So when I thought of moving before my husband, there was a question came. My colleagues were asking, why you are moving? Your husband is here. As per them, my husband should move first, then I should move. So that's
another
small unconscious biases. Even these people go through a lot of training, they go through a lot of these kind of DNI sessions, but still that, that lingers in their mind, because I think it's a societal, the cultural norms, or maybe we are used to doing that. So even I'm a mother of a special kid. So when I went to a doctor, the first question the doctor asked, your mother need to leave the job. I told, why should I leave a job? Right? Why you are not asking my husband to do the same thing? Do you know what I'm so that was another thing which really stuck to me. Why a mother only need to leave a job? So these small things people they don't realize, but these are the small unconscious biases which hamper the growth of a woman. Okay, which really pulls all the effort, all the hard work, the passion a woman is putting into her career, or for getting empowered, right? So I think we need to change that perspective.
Yeah, very wonderful narration. Actually, this is a very see. As initially, Mrs. Ajita set the tone for with this unconscious bias towards the woman. This wonderful progress is there in the discussion. Now, another point is there as the unconscious bias towards the woman. But what about woman unconscious bias towards working in rural areas, small towns? Because it means that most of the women prefer to work in the cities. That is one aspect. But as we move towards the cities, bigger cities and larger, challenges are so quite bigger too. But similarly, why can't the woman think about working in smaller towns or semi-urban areas? Is another important issue for discussion. May I request Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar to say something on this?
Yeah, so a lot of that has actually improved, I would say, because of COVID. So COVID led to a lot of reverse migration. So a lot of people who were working in cities went back to tier 2, tier 3 towns, and they either started working online. A lot of organizations like Axis Bank, for instance, they started offering gig work opportunities. So a lot of women started taking that up. And then also when it comes to the bias, when it comes to women living in smaller towns, working in, that is where is the challenge, because again, it is cultural, there's a cultural bias over there. It's again, organizations do not want to hire women because many of them are family-run businesses, and these family-run businesses have their own set of biases. So it's male-dominated. They're not comfortable hiring a woman. Even kind of offering the basics like a separate toilet for women and things like that. They are not comfortable doing that because they think that it's they believe that women's accountability won't be as much because they fear that, she'll have a baby or whatever, or her children would be writing the board exams and things like that, and she will exit the workforce sooner or later. So they have that fear in mind, and they are not really making an effort to give them options wherein they can continue in the workforce. Having said that, some of them are changing, but they are still far and few. But what I would like to add is, which came as a big surprise for me, I write a lot on the rural economy, so I travel a lot. I come across so many rural women who are trying to break the glass ceiling. And that came as a big surprise to me, and it was a pleasant surprise to me. So I was in Bhopal a couple of months back. So we had gone to do a few, I'd gone to a few villages in the Bhopal district. So I met two women, both of them were Anganwadi workers. One of them was a graduate in economics. Okay, Anganwadi worker, graduate in economics. The village she lives has no bus connectivity. That has no bus connectivity, and the local school is only till 5th. And girls typically drop out of school because it's difficult for them to travel to the nearby village for high school. This lady has done her entire education through correspondence. And now she's encouraging the other girls in her village, because the village still doesn't have bus connection, to study online. Similarly, I met this lady, she's a microbiologist. So she lives in Bastar, in a place called Jagdalpur. And she set up a superfoods business over there, where she's empowering tribal women. And these are all Naxalite hit areas. Women are downtrodden, backward. They're not ready to this thing. She's mobilized some 500 women and given them employment. So, there are a lot of stories. While we may think that rural women are backward, they are downtrodden, but there are a lot of inspiring stories where they are trying to break the glass ceiling. I found that hugely inspirational.
Yeah, that definitely. You have given two ideas, actually. On one side, the special facilities and requirement for women to work in the smaller towns, and also the recruitment practices, and also some amount of cultural bias. May I now request Dr. Hiranmay Mishra, while maintaining the separate identity for women, actually, what are the hurdles that they face? Dr. Hiranmay, madam?
Yeah, hurdles are everywhere, as we have been discussing on these only, on the hurdles only. I would love to say that in my institutions today, there are more girls than the boys. We are in a big institution, and the strength is 7,500. We have 5,000 girls and 2,500 boys only, and that's too in a rural area. And that's because we have gone to the parents, we have pushed them to send their girls for higher education, we have convinced them, we have done sessions with parents, long sessions, and after all these years of hard work, now we were seeing the fruits that we have more girls being, and any visitor who comes to, even the VC, anyone for the inspection, whoever comes to our college, they are surprised to see that in such a, which is like 45 kilometers away from the capital city of Odisha, and you have to go there to believe that there is an institution like this, but there are more girls than the boys. So hurdles are many actually, they are manifold, and we have to overcome these hurdles by our own work and by building up I always believe in building up a rapport with women, building up a sisterhood. Our journeys are not starting from the same point. They're just parallel. It's not a long line. It's not a straight line. These journeys are all parallel journeys. We all start from different points. So our final destination are different points. So for that, bringing the girls to the higher education, it's like a big hurdle for us in the beginning. But then we worked as a team, and in our college we have many women who wanted it, and then we did it. So it's not that the in the non-government sectors and also the government, they have all maintained like a synergetic relationship between them. It's like it's growing like a support system to break these biases or to break these hurdles which have been standing for women like rocks ever since long years. But even then, there are certain hurdles which we women have to first, in the beginning, we have to see that this is a hurdle. As as you said that, as we have discussed earlier, that there are unseen hurdles also. You never imagine, you never expect a hurdle suddenly coming in. So there are certain, you can say, psychological hurdles. There are certain hurdles, and there are hurdles for women's development everywhere. And it's like first recognizing that yes, this is a hurdle, and then we have to break it up. Like I write stories, and then when I write stories, I purposefully I don't write only women as a social issue, because as we know, without one part or we are being a feminist, I always believe that we are not. It must be an inclusive one. So for inclusive. Am I audible?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yes,
Now
yes,
it's okay.
madam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very important to recognize, to identify the hurdles first, and then only we can together building up a rapport among the women who have gone through it. Then only we can cross or overcome or fight against the hurdles. So recognizing and identifying the hurdles which come on our way, that is the very first step that we have to take. That all the women who are working in the field, we have to first see that, because the hurdles are different levels. Which are hurdles for rural women, that is not for educated people, that is not for educated women. So it may look like a very small issue for me, but it's a big issue for them. So we have to identify the hurdles first, and then only development can take place. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. There is an interesting thing. Actually, you have narrated 2-3 examples, and of course, this is definitely these hurdles we can see in the rural areas or the suburban areas. Now, let us listen to Mrs. Nirmala from in the business environment. In her progress to empower herself, what type of hurdles do you observe, Mrs. Nirmala?
So can you repeat your question, please?
Dr. Hiranmayi observed the hurdles in the progress of women, and similarly, when she's trying to empower herself, particularly in the business world, what type of hurdles do you observe?
Okay, so I think when we talk about the progress, right, and I think we all agree that we as a women have made progress over the time, right? And the progress seems to not too great. We are moving, but at the same time, there are a lot of things, which we are still missing. Yeah, there are a lot of hurdles, whether you talk about the women's safety, whether you talk about the violence happening against women, or whether you talk about the discrimination, which is like a part of a society, right? And the gender equality, you talk about the pay parity. So all these are the various things which, if we say that yes, more number of women are going to are having education, they are having less forced marriages. So all these things, yes, we are to some extent tackling, but at the same time, we have a big basic right which we are not able to get. That is the gender equality. Yeah. Still, if you see in our, whether you talk about politics, you talk about organization leadership, we are just underrepresented. Okay, maybe if you see, we are just a 5%. Anywhere you go, I think it's going to take a long time for us to be equal, right? Because I know it is happening in the right direction, but at the same time, we are not getting it that much easily. Yeah. Because whether if you talk about husband wife working, okay, or you talk about equality at the workplace, but at the same time somewhere we are missing where the women are getting pulled down. Either you talk a lot of organization, we talk about we do the same work, but we are not getting paid similar way, right? Why this is happening? A simple example: if you see our Bollywood, that's one of we talk a lot about a lot of things. We talk about inspiration, but that's the biggest example. Within our organization, also there are a lot of companies who really focus on equal pay, but there are some organizations where I think a woman doesn't get what she worked for compared to her counterpart, right? So these are the small things which really pulls us down, right? Whatever progress we are making, again, we are getting down because these things are not getting tackled. Okay, government is making a lot of policies, government is making a lot of laws, but what about the domestic violence where the person feels that if he is doing anything to his wife, nothing will happen because we as a women are also not speaking. I think that's another hurdle which we are facing because we feel that if we speak, maybe my neighbor will say something, my society, my impression in the society will let down. So I think we are not used to speaking up, right? And also at the same time, when we sit in a boardroom, if there is a male colleague, he will raise his hand for any challenges. But we feel that maybe I'm not enough for that, or maybe I need some more time to do that. But whereas a male colleague, if he is ready of 4%, he will say, okay, I can do that. Whereas we as a women always look for perfection, right? So there are some of the things which is as a women we also need to do, but at the same time we need our other gender to at least support or maybe give us opportunity if they cannot do anything for us, but at least don't bring us down, right? Then only we can put effort and we can grow and we can get empowered, we can have our equal equality within the society. So
yes.
that's what I feel.
Yeah. A wonderful point you raised about the pay gap actually between men and women. And in one of the participants also sent a message that nearly in 150 countries, research shows that women is paid far low pay than men. So this is definitely an important point for discussion, if not only in this forum, but in days to come also. And some effort is going on as usual. Some organizations, little bit of equal pay may be there, but in general, the majority of the environment, women is paid much lesser than men. So may I now request Mrs. Ajita, can you throw some light on this particular point, what Mrs. Nirmala added?
So I'm a victim of gender pay disparity. So,
Oh my God.
and I'll tell you how. So each time I had two kids. The husband was on a transferable job. So each time we moved and when the kids were growing up and all, I did take a break. So that I lost that many years. So obviously, I lost out on pay. So today, a lot of my colleagues, though we are at the same level, my male colleagues earn more than me. So, so some of my forward-looking editors have kind of bridged the gap to a great extent now, but it's still there. That parity, the disparity is still there. So, and it's not just me. Across corporate India, women typically earn. It's only a few organizations where they make sure there's parity, but when a woman steps out of the workforce and comes back, it's very difficult for her to come back at the same level. And I think it's the organization's responsibility, to make sure that there's no break in the woman's career, in terms of giving flexible hours or, allowing her to come whenever she feels like coming, or, giving that kind of support would really, I think, help in cutting down this pay parity. So I really can't blame my male colleagues for earning more than me because they've not taken a break. So obviously there's been no break in their career. In my case, there has been a break and it was my choice to take a break. So, nobody forced me to take a break. So obviously I kind of, lost out. So I think it's, the family of the woman who, up to them to support. And the woman herself should get out of the guilt that what will happen if I go out of work, my child will suffer. I think children are pretty independent. They come up well. I also am like Nirmala, even I'm also, my younger son is on the autism spectrum. So, but I haven't I continue working. So there's nothing of that sort. You have to have a life of yourself, for yourself. So that's very important. And I think it's the role of the community, the organization, and the person herself. We can't keep blaming. We can't be in the victim mode saying that I have lost out. It was our choice, right? So I think it's everyone. Everyone has to get together and come up with a solution for this.
Yes, this is a very, very important point that you have raised that, because of course, break in career is one aspect that may lead to low pay. But in general, this is an exceptional case actually. But in every case, in spite of having a continuous career growth, still the payment is a little lower than
that is because of the mindset people have.
Yes.
That is because the mindset people have, because they think, oh, she's a woman. She'll get married, she'll have kids, she'll quit. So why do we pay her? So, and we accept it. We all accept it. So it's our fault.
Yes. Not to understand.
I want to interfere here actually. There are certain unorganized sectors where the pay gap is permanent. The pay gap is permanent. I mean, it's not for some and not for others. It's permanent for women. That like the workers that come to work on daily wages, there is an announcement in this country like minimum wage for all, but that is not applicable to women. The contractual workers, the women workers get less paid than the men. And also, if we look at the glamour industry, we look at them with awe. But it's very unfortunate that the film industry is paying so less to heroines comparing with the heroes. Even if it's a heroine-based story, but then the women are paid less than the men. So it's like we have perceived it. The society has perceived it. The air is full with the ethics of women, like the culture of women, like good women, bad women. This should be done by women. Women should not demand more. Like these things are very much affecting our lives, and we are also at some way or the other, we are also accepting this in order to prove that we are good. I mean, that tax should always go with us. We are good mothers. If the father just gives some time to the child, even I have a daughter whom I adopted long years back, like she is now 21, and I am the first adoptive mother of a girl child in this part of the world. And then the whole family was against me. Then I know how I managed it. But if the husband gives some time, some quality time to the child, then overnight he becomes the best father of the world. People don't recognize how the mother is struggling to balance between the work and the life, and it's everywhere there. So that is how the stories of perceived women, that is how the the ethics of perceived women, that is how our whole culture is brought up. That's why there are certain corners where the payment is permanently low. I mean, it's not about taking a leave or taking a break and going back to your work. Apart from all these factors, they don't consider this. There are certain pockets where women are permanently paid less than men. That too, starting from the very rural area, like the workers, the contractual workers, the workers who are working, and from there to like the glamour industry. So it's very unfortunate. The pay gap is there, and we have to recognize that yes, there is a gender pay gap.
So can I just one sentence I would like to say, it's about the changing the mindset, and also from us as a women, we need not to be, underestimate ourselves, recognizing our worth and fighting for that. So that's going to be very important when these kind of things happen.
Yeah, Ms. Nirmala, your point is valid. Actually, the point is very serious one, because change of mindset is very, very important in the given environment. Of course, it may take some ages to bring back the normalcy between the men and women in terms of pay. As Dr. Hiranmay said, that in certain areas, it is fixed, that they should be paid low. That should be the mindset of the people. But unfortunately, in some areas, like in IT sector and some other, in a minor areas like where the pay is reasonably good and comparable, but in general, this is a very low. And of course, as Dr. Hiranmay said, in the glamour industry also, it is much low compared to the men or heroes or compared to the heroines. That is a well taken point, and in future also we have to work it out on that. Now, may I now request Mrs. Ajita Shashidhar. Now let us move towards the education. See, we are talking about the education, and educating the girl child is very important issue. And the government of India and the state governments and even the social NGOs and social entrepreneurs are focusing on educating the girl child. This is, again, it is one issue at that level. Can't we go beyond educating the girl child and think of in terms of diversity and also the gender violence?
Yeah, so I'm happy that you raised this point, actually, Professor Reddy. When it comes to educating the girl child, it's like, I think it's a great thing to do. And I think probably that's the easiest thing to do. Most philanthropists, when it comes to investing in philanthropic causes, especially when they have to look from the lens of diversity of women, they prefer education, because I think that is scalable. It's easier to, kind of show a report card saying that I have educated so many people. So many girls. But I think what really needs to be done is at the infrastructure level. So when I visit a lot of the rural areas, the women who I meet, the girls who I meet, they typically drop out of school because the school doesn't have toilets for women, for those girls. Again, when it comes to a lot of the adolescent girls, they kind of they have menstruation and things like that. So during that period, they don't have there's a stigma attached there, and using a sanitary napkin is kind of is a taboo topic. So these are some of the reasons wherein I find a lot of girls dropping out of education because of infrastructural issues. So we really need to talk more about it, and kind of find a way of getting rid of that stigma. Again, when it comes to philanthropists, if I look only at philanthropists, nobody is looking at, you're right, nobody is looking at diversity. Nobody is looking at violence, because those are not tangible things. They are not measurable. So nobody is looking at it. And, we have to structurally change things, create that awareness that, of getting philanthropists to invest in these kind of causes.
Yeah, this is a wonderful point that has come for, because creating infrastructure facilities, particularly for girl, child, and adolescents' needs, is very important issue. Because as you said, that it is not quantifiable. Even if the contribution toward that, it can't be quantifiable under so the CSR activity of big companies, actually.
Yes.
Now, this, as you said very rightly, Hiranmay Madam, do you observe in the rural areas in your studies this particular how to provide these facilities? Is there any discussion at maybe at a policy level or academic institution level, the discussion that, because dropping from the education of the girl child is a very pertinent issue. Therefore, we have to stop this. To stop this, as Mrs. Ajita said, by inviting some philanthropists to invest something to create infrastructure facilities, particularly special infrastructure facilities, and also the special needs of adolescents. Do you think something is possible in this direction?
Yeah, that is, we can very well say that education is the only weapon, and girls must get educated in order to know about their needs, in order to know about their lives, about the journey, about so many things. But even then, I will say that, in fact, in Odisha, the infrastructure has been very well taken care of. Almost in all schools, there are now very good buildings, very good toilets, separate toilets for girls. But even then, I would just like to point out here that during this pandemic, when hundreds and thousands of people were coming back to their home, then what the government did, that lots of schools are closed for a long time, and we know that. And just now, when schools are being opened just before 2 weeks, now we are observing that the girls are not coming back. Then we did a small survey by our center. We sent some students to know, and continuously for last 15 days, I have been doing that through my students, that why the girls are not coming back. It is being seen that very unfortunately that the income level of the family has gone down. They have lost the jobs. So the first the first thing that in any crisis situation, women and children are the worst sufferers. So now the education of the girls has a back door, has a back seat, and they are not sending their girls to the schools, and instead the girls are also otherwise engaged. They are either taking care of the cows, or taking care of the agricultural activities, or taking care of the other siblings, and they are so engaged that they have completely forgotten about the schools. So though there is infrastructure, sufficient infrastructure now waiting for them, for the girls, separate toilets, everything, and the government also introduced that. In the very beginning day, there were programs in each primary schools to welcome the girls and boys separately. But even then, it's so unfortunate that girls are not coming back now after the pandemic. So something has to be done by the philanthropists, or the educationists, or the people who are in at the policy making level, at the decision making level. Something has to be done about this. I'm very distressed to say that in the primary education now, it's going to be a very big gap between the girls and the boys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vinod. May I now request Ms. Nirmala on this very, very important issue, that contribution of philanthropic approach of organization towards creating better facilities along with the government effort. Do you think something is required on that, and are the organizations are doing something from their side?
Okay, I think yes. So even the organization, because when we talk about the big multinational companies, right? So they have, again, as I told us, like a D&I council, or they also have this kind of mandate, or they also take, how can they help the society, right, as a part of their CSR, corporate social responsibility. So where they are also trying to help, like you can see a lot of organizations, they go to the rural areas, and where they are helping for the toilets, right, and also the even the sanitary napkins and all kind of a thing. I think a lot of effort is getting put by the organizations also. And not only that, also they are also contributing for the girl child educations. Yeah, how can they help? Even they are building some, not only that, but even within the organization, when there are some factories which are at a very remote areas, and how can they help? Okay, so so that the girls, like you are talking about, leaving the school or the education kind of a thing, but at the same time women leaving the job, right? So how can they stop that part of it? In some of the big organizations, they try to take that initiative to have, how can they attract more female in the workforce, especially in the manufacturing sites, which I know is in the rural place and all, by providing the basic amenities, by providing them the houses to live. So a lot of effort the organizations are also putting, because as we all know that if a woman is in the workforce, or if a girl is educated, how it helps the society to grow, how it helps the GDP to grow, right? We can see that by 2025, if a female contributes to our business, I think the chances of our growth are going to be very high. We can contribute by 12 trillion to the our growth kind of a thing. So everybody know the importance of female educated. Everybody knows that how the female in a workforce can contribute, and also all the organizations are putting various efforts through their CSR activities.
Okay, very good point. actually, because we are seeing the three dimensions on this particular issue. Now, let us come back to one important issue, which it is lingering in my mind, that we are happy to note that women's presence is felt slowly and it is progressing well in almost all sectors. On one side, we are saying that the progress is very positive, but it is little slow. At the same time, parallelly, violence is also increasing on women because both are growing actually. This is another important trend that we are noticing. And what might be the cause and what should be the effort that we have to put in to bring down the violence on women, one aspect, while progressing well positively. This is a very important issue which I feel I request all three of you to say a few sentences on this particular point.
I think women need to speak up.
Ajit? Yeah.
I think women just need to speak up. They don't speak enough because they are again worried about what the society will tell them. How that they will be judged by the society. They just need to speak up, because I saw this, one thing which came out during one of my rural market trips to Gujarat as well as Madhya Pradesh, which I recently, so the government under that Swachh Bharat has constructed toilets all over. And a lot of private companies have also kind of, as part of the CSR have been doing. And I was shocked to see most of the toilets in these homes are not even used. People use it to store their grains. And so there was this Anganwadi worker who was telling me that women, still go to the fields and they get molested, they get raped, but they don't have the courage to come back and, kind of raise their voice, because the person who would have done the deed would be like a respectable person in their village. And of course, that is in rural India, but even in urban, we just don't speak up. We have, we have institutions like POSH and things like that, and organizations. But and I'm part of the POSH committee in my organization. I hardly find women coming and speaking up. So I think they just need to speak.
Yeah, actually, here one observation in continuation to your observation. What I notice is that at least in the semi-urban and rural areas, somebody will come to the rescue. And nowadays, some organizations like NGOs, they are taking up such issues. But in the urban areas, actually, many things are unnoticed. So this is another important trend we are noticing.
Yes,
Dr. Hiranmaya Mishra, can you say something on this?
Yes, I'm happy that you raised this question. Actually, this is a very pertinent question while talking about women in development, because even in the educational institutions, we have internal compliance committees, and UGC has made it mandatory to have this, and I am the convener in my institution. I asked so many girls, I meet them, I asked them, I encourage them, but even then they don't speak up, as Ajita has rightly pointed out. And I'll just share some of my concerns about not speaking enough, and about also the press is so much biased about the violence on women, though we know that statistics says that in each 5 minutes a girl is violated in this country. But even then, you see, when this pandemic happened, when people were coming back to their own places, to their villages, what some people were walking, migrated workers were walking on their foot to come back to their, and somewhere on cycles, somewhere getting the help from different organizations. But then they crossed a very long way. It's natural that they had their families, they had their daughters with them, and the daughters would have got their periods, the women would have got their periods, they would have, and we know how much safe is our national highways when they were crossing all these long ways to come back to their homes. All the medias were full with the stories of their plights, the stories of showing off kindness to them, stories stories of distributing food packets, how the support system is helping them to reach back, but no media has ever seen that how much violence was done to these women and girls. So this is very disturbing in this country, that even the fourth pillar, which we say fourth pillar of democracy, that has also a bias towards reporting these things properly. It's not only lack of enough speaking up on the part of the girls, it's also lack of enough speaking up on the part of the media. The print media may be the print media, may be the visual media, they don't cover these stories, and they don't speak enough about these stories. I have never seen a story about where a woman or a girl was violated, and I came across, I heard many stories from them directly, but never seen a story in the media. So that is how we are encouraging these practices, that if we don't, and lots of things are not reported. If we only take a statistic, then it is only from the resources available with us, and that's only about the reported cases. And lots of violence cases are going, and as Ajita has pointed out, it's not only a very powerful person in the village, it's also someone from their own family, where the girl if the girl comes back and says to her mother, then the mother says that no, he is your dada or he is your uncle, and then don't say like this. So lots of these things are even happening, unfortunately, inside our families. If a girl is not safe in her own family, then how can we restrict the violence in the state? And violence is rampant. And that is very disturbing. And that is the biggest hurdle, I would say, in the way of the development of women. If girls are not free to walk on the roads, if girls have no freedom to say about what is happening, and then no way they can develop. Actually, that is the biggest hurdle in the way of the development of the girls and women of this country.
Yes, yeah, definitely. This is the important point.
That's a gap when it comes to philanthropy also, which I had pointed out earlier. Nobody wants to take up these causes because it's not measurable,
not only
it's
that,
not tangible.
because the consequences of reporting are very, very disturbing, actually. That's why social causes, the structural dimensions are many, and consequences of one reporting a case and the impact on her career is very, very important, dangerous. And that's why many times they hush up the entire issue, keeping the future in mind. So therefore, this is, as Hiranmai said, it is definitely a disturbing thing. And now I would like to move to one important point, though it is a little bit case-oriented aspect. Now, I don't know whether we should raise this particular point for discussion, but still it is an academic exercise that we are doing. And two women, top Chanda Kochar and also Chitra Ramakrishna, two people who have been holding a very, very important positions. Of course, we should not just, these are all the only two people, and unfortunately, both the people were apparently disturbed or involved in some type of financial issues. Actually, we don't know much except that whatever is reported in the papers we are listening. Such cases may be some type of hurdle for many women come forward to hold the top positions. So just what is your observation? And let me go to Mrs. Nirmala first and then come back to Shashidhar, please.
So, sir, before I know you asked a question, but my comment here is, yes, these are the two women, but I think they have a great achievements also, right? So while we are forgetting their achievements, the hardship they have put in, and yes, currently they are in a different scenarios. At the same time, they are two women. But if you see I'm not pointing any male colleague, and for me, it's all about equality, right? But are we forgetting the other half, which is like 95% of people who has done the similar kind of a thing, but we are forgetting those, right? So I think we should learn. There may be something, we don't know the actual scenario, right? Even I don't follow what they have done, but I know. But I think let's learn from what they achieved. And yes, there are sometimes these mistakes, and this happens. Not only, it's not about the female or a male, right? So it's about where are you in that time? What is the situation around you? What, so it's all about the situational, it's not about whether it's a woman or a man. It's about the situation, the circumstances, and also, and what decision you take, right? So for me, I think these things doesn't stop or have or come across as a hurdle for a woman, because I think for me, I look up the positive things and ignore the negative thing. I also learn whatever mistake they have done for and we learn from their mistakes, kind of a thing, right? So also we are not saying that mistake, maybe there are some, we don't know the background, right? What's happening there. But yes, I think we should not say that based on one or two people that these are the hurdles which a woman should face. I think we should be learning and also not segregating, because we know that 95% of our male, or a lot of these things also done by our other genders, right? So
definitely. No, definitely. Yeah, no, you are very good at the interpretation, and I also positively think that they have contributed significantly. But the point is, when you reach, whether irrespective of the men or women, when they reach a particular stage, there the other external factors are common, irrespective of the gender, which I feel so. So that is why here. But since accidentally, unfortunately, these people are behind the bar just before the International Women's Day, so therefore the issue has come. Unfortunate. But now, Shashidhar, can you say something?
I think it's just coincidence, and it's unfortunate that, I mean, it's unfair to label women, because I mean, there are enough men who are tainted. Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. So there are, I mean, I think it's unfair, and there are a lot of women role models, lots and lots of women role models, and I think it's, there's no reason why women can't make it to the top. It's just attitudinal change which is required, and there's nothing else.
Yeah, that's what actually. See, they didn't. The positive point is they didn't amass any money or anything, but they are influenced by the environment. They are forced to do certain things. Therefore, they become victim rather than they behave like honest men, like
and even like, if I were to point out, like in a sector like alcoholic beverage, which for generations had been a male bastion, the amount of work that is being done to bring in diversity is amazing. So you look at Diageo, 50% of their executive committee consists of women now. Their MD is a woman, Hina Nagarajan. Their strategy head is a woman, Avanti. Then it's all this thing. Similarly, Pernod Ricard, they have recently hired a diversity inclusion head who's a transgender woman. So, so there's lots happening, and I mean, there are enough role models being created, and it is the woman's attitude which needs to change. And, she needs to believe in herself that she can take up big roles, and she can break the glass ceiling. And it is the organizations who have to empower her to reach that level.
Yeah, Dr. Hiranmai, can you say it in briefly one sentence?
It's about the women leaders, and these two women that you have mentioned about, they have contributed immensely. We shouldn't forget that they have contributed immensely, and they have also been like role models for us for quite some long years. But then it's not only about them, about the women. There is a need for the change of the attitude of the family also, because in India we give much more importance to the family. So a girl is the father is the first hero of any daughter. So he has to understand the needs of her daughter. So it's like there is the need for a change of the family and the society. And then the girls are to go miles ahead, and nobody can restrict their movement or their development. If the family gives them enough opportunities in the beginning years, in the formative years, then no one can restrict their race. I'm quite sure.
Okay, before the last, I want to quickly each one take 1 minute, even less than 1 minute. What is the role of family as an institution? Because India's greatest asset is family system. In the name of development, what is the future of family system? Each one can quickly respond in a small sentence. Then I will ask the remaining people to continue. Nirmala madam?
Yeah, so I'll start quickly. So for me, I think family is the starting point for our mindset, right?
Yeah.
So if anything but how we treat people, how we behave outside is all about family. Okay, so for women development, family plays a critical role. Be a real partner, not a partner. Be a real partner. Those to all the male colleagues, what I would like to say, and support and give a women a chance to make her choices. It's very important. Give the freedom. Give her, equip her and help her on her decisions. So this is what is very important.
Yeah, Mrs. Shashidhar?
I would say trust your daughters.
Good.
That's, the
Very
charity begins at home. So
Yeah.
first we need to trust our
Yeah,
daughters.
I would also join Ajita in saying that trust your daughters and listen to their stories, listen to their narratives. Don't mistrust them. They are. Believe that they are innocent and believe that they are saying the facts about life.
Yes. So finally, it is my, before I invite my colleague to propose a vote of thanks, on my behalf, I am very, very happy and I am really satisfied person today. After listening to all the three speakers, we have touched various issues from personal, professional, the societal issues, and a number of issues we have touched, and each one of you have shared your rich experience. And I'm sure that the participants would have been benefited a lot. And I also invite you even in future, please kindly help our faculty members and also students on various issues, maybe in the form of a webinars like this, and also on other issues. And it is an open invitation from my institution. Please visit Tirupati also, as in when you get a chance to visit this side and visit our campus, and also have a darshan of take the blessings of Lord Balaji. So thank you very much, all of you, and
Thank you very much,
special
Thank you very
thanks
much
to
for the
Tapan.
invitation. Thank you very much. If
Yeah.
possible,
No.
Nirmala, Ajita, and me will be in touch, and we will make a
Definitely.
group to visit.
Definitely.
Yes, it will be it will be much of fun to visit in a group actually.
Yes.
Definitely. I would love to be in touch with all of you. And thank you,
Yes.
Professor Reddy, for inviting
Yeah,
us. And thank you, Professor Panda, for considering.
Of course.
And I
Special
think
thanks to Professor.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to share this dice with all the immense speaker Hiranya ma'am and Ajita and all our professors. For me, it's really a great pleasure. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you.
May
Thank
now
you, Tapan sir.
May I now request Dr. Naresh Babu to propose a word of thanks. Of course, my special thanks to Dr. Tapan.
I just came to listen to my friends, and I understood that they're very powerful speakers and they're very strong thoughts about that. All three of them, and there are a lot of similarities in their lives. When they talked about their family and children, I could see it is just incidental, but I could see that all three of you have got similar kind of things at home to take care of. But you are very strong women. I thank you for accepting this friendly request and helping us to Dr. Reddy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, Naresh Babu.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Naresh from Sri Vidyaniketh Institute of Management, faculty member. So it is my indeed pleasure to propose vote of thanks for this program. First in row, I would like to thank the entire panelist for accepting our invitation and being a part of this program and sharing their ideas, experiences, and learnings about women in sport. And we immediately thank Indian Men in Sports for associating with us to organize this program. And I thank Professor Narayan Reddy, sir, Director, Sri Vidyaniketh Institute of Management, for initiating this program and being a moderator of the program. And my sincere thanks to fellow faculty members and participants and others who have made this program quite a grand success. And I wish you a happy International Women's Day again to everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mrs. Shashidhar, and thank you, Nirmala, and thank you,